know how it is handled or how you wanted to handle and so forth. So, those you can try out when you go to the practical level. Also again there are also some software can differ with others the way it is handling null values. So, you need to look at with respect to that specific vendor product how it is supporting null values. So, the next aspect going to look at is the referential integrity. Now, earlier we mentioned about the primary keys mainly to identify data uniquely, and with respect to referential integrity we are linking some data with primary key in most of the cases of another table. So, referential integrity constraint defines some association between different data items typically in different tables, and how it is done is by using this particular special type of a integrity constraint what we call as a foreign key. Now, the word foreign comes with because you are using a key belongs to somebody else. So, key of a table we call a primary key. So, if one person's primary key if somebody else is using we call it as a foreign key. So, to use by somebody else's key then it should have some sort of a special situation which establish a particular relationship. Now, through this particular example we are showing a employee table and a department table. An employee table identifies these are the departments of this organization, and for each department is identified using a primary key value of this primary key field which is the depth number, and it has values like D1, D2, D3 and so forth. Then you have a separate table independent of the department which have data about your employees. Now, every employee is attached to a department. So, to establish that relationship or to define that this employee works for this department, we will use this foreign key concept. So, in the employee table we need a data column to store the name of the department that employee works for. Now, that name of the department is identified through the department number, because department number is the key used in the department. The name and whatever other details are non-key attributes of the department table. Once you establish the link you can get that detail. So, to establish a link you only use the key field information of that table. So, the key field information of the department table in this case is depth number. So, depth number you use as one column of the employee table. So, you are using a key of the department table inside the employee table. So, key of another table using here. So, as a result depth number used in the employee table is a foreign key of another table. Now, you can have several employees working for the same department. So, as a result in this particular employee table you will find several instances of D1 or several instances of D2 and so forth. But in the primary key table you can have only one D1 instance or one D2, because it is a key, meaning it has a unique characteristic. You cannot have two instances with the same value, but in a foreign key it is possible. So, the advantage of a foreign key is whenever you put a value to the employee table under that depth number column, it will validate with the department table to ensure that that number already exists in the department table. If it does not exist, then it is a violation. So, the foreign key concept or the referential integrity constraint is to ensure that when you say this employee works for this department, it has to be a valid department. So, that validation is done through the foreign key. Now, if you do not know the department, you can keep it null, keep it blank without entering, which is a null value. But if you are entering, it must be a valid value already in the other table. So, that is what we are showing here. The row highlighted under employee, if we enter an employee and assign him to department D3, then it will check whether that D3 is already there. Similarly, if you want to update something, it has to be updated to some value which is already in the other table, or you can set to a value null if you want, that does not matter as far as whatever values you put matches with the corresponding table. Now, in the integrity constraints I mentioned about this cascade, restrict and set null, and that is explained through this particular slide. Now, mention that when you enter data in the employee table, you do this validation. Now, it is also possible at a later point somebody do some manipulation with respect to department table. For example, somebody can delete a record from a department, that means, he define that this department is no longer there. Then you have an issue with respect to what to do with the employees already working for department. So, you can do many things. One is you can say that those employees no longer work for us. So, you may want to delete those employees, or you may want to assign them to a different department, or you may want to assign them temporarily to a non-defined department, where you want to treat it as null and then assign it to a department later on. So, many possible options could be there. So, to do these options automatically based on your preference, it is possible to expand this foreign key definition with appropriate action to be taken in case of a deletion take place in this department table. So, in this particular case, if you delete the department, if you want to similarly delete the corresponding employees, we can say cascade. If you want to, when you deleting, if you want to prevent that happening, if there are matching values, you can say restrict. So, if you say restrict, then it will not allow to delete until you do something for those employees in the employee table. That means, you can go there and assign them to a different department and then come and delete. The other thing is automatically assign them null values, where you do not assign to a different department, you delete the record of the department and matching values you put null values automatically, then later on you can assign them to a respective department. So, those are certain actions that can take place automatically through this constraint. So, the database when you are designing the table structures, we have to identify how you want to manage these things. So, the whatever the table which is going to have this foreign key, those values of the foreign key column will be dependent on the parent table values. So, those dependence has to be defined with appropriate action, and these keywords cascade, restrict, set null, and also a default option is also possible, available for such purposes. So, as an example of how a particular statement would look like, I have selected a example involving creating a table for an employee. So, assuming we want to record data about employees, and that employee table is have to have a column to store an employee number, column to store employee national ID, address, salary, gender, date of birth, and so forth. So, each of them you need to define as a column definition first, then wherever applicable you define the constraints. So, in this particular structure I have underlined and put it in red the primary key. So, that emp number is going to be the primary key field, and then I have italics in maroon color. We have put a few attributes, depth number, supervisor, which are going to be foreign keys defined later on, and the others are normal attributes or normal column definitions to store data about the address, salary, and so forth. So, the syntax we mentioned is going to be create table and the name of the table, which is employee in this case, then within brackets. So, you have the open brackets here and then a column definition. Column definition will have a column name and a data type. So, column name is emp number, data type is char5, assuming employee number is 5 characters. And because it is going to be the primary key, it must have a value is required. So, as a result we say it as not null. Then the next data item is a national ID, another column name, then the data type is char and 10 characters is reserved. So, that is another column definition. So, each column definition is defined separately and each of them are separated by a comma. So, after not null we have a comma, after char 10 we have a comma, and so forth. You define all the data types. So, appropriate data type must be identified and defined. So, for address we have used varchar to allow us to have a flexible number of length for the address, but maximum of 50 characters, whereas the national ID number fixed length, employee number is a fixed length. Then the salary 2 decimal places up to 7 digits defined, and a check constraint is used here. So, when you are using a check constraint, how you use it is by defining a condition that has to be checked, like we said we want to check the mark between 0 and 100. So, in this case salary is a positive value, you can't have a negative salary, but if you know approximate maximum values, you can define it has to be less than some value, but then salary is something continuously changes. So, you do not want to change these rules all the time in the database. So, as a result it may be not applicable or relevant to define upper limit for the salary. Now, for the gender, to identify whether it is a male or female, then we can, in this particular case we have used one single character storage where you type M or F. So, if you type any other character we want to reject it. So, we have a rule to check whether gender is within this set of values. So, in is a keyword used to check for a set of values, and the value set is M or F, which is a single character, and we have to use within quotes. Then the other data is the date of birth, which is type date. So, date becomes another data type, and then there are other fields like name and so forth. So, the name, first name, middle initial, last name. So, the name of the employee is broken into 3 attributes or 3 columns, where we store last name or surname separately. Last name is the name we have given there, then the middle initials, first name, because for various purposes you will need to use different parts of the name. If you store all of them in one field, you will not know what is the first name and what is the last name, because different people use them in a different order. You not necessarily the first name means always the first name one person that person would use. He can use a middle name as his first name because of its preference, but when you enter you have to put it in the correct order, so that you can use it in a suitable sequence. So, when for certain data when it is required you put not null, otherwise you just ignore that. So, for last name we have put not null, but not for the middle initial or the first name. Then we have this supervisor and set of definitions for the constraints. So, the primary key, foreign keys are defined here separately. Primary key is applicable for the employee number. So, the primary key keyword is used and within brackets the attribute associated with it, and for the foreign key we use the foreign key keyword, the attribute which involves as the foreign key, which in this case depth number, which is defined there, and you have to say it refers to which table. So, the department number should refer to the department table. So, that is what is defined, foreign key references department. So, references is the keyword used for that purpose. So, similarly for employee we have a supervisor. So, employee refers to the same employee table as a supervisor, because employee supervises other employees. So, it is possible to have a self referencing foreign key as well, where here it is referring to the own table. So, the reference here belongs to the foreign key of that table, in this case emp number, otherwise it is the department number. So, that is how you would put these together, and we will look at few more examples and use of these foreign keys to see further use of this syntax. We will now look at another example. Earlier we looked at creating of an employee table including the column definitions and some constraints. So, here we are using another table referred as dependent, and in this particular case the dependent is linked with the same database schema where we had employee before, and the difference, one clear difference you can see here is the primary key involves two columns or two attributes, employee number and dependent name. So, when you have multiple columns involving a constraint, then that constraint has to be defined separately, whereas if a constraint is involved with a particular column, a single column, then it is possible to include the constraint immediately after the data type of that column name. So, that is why we had for example, for the gender we can check the gender type within the same line. We do not need to have a separate check constraint at the end, but in the primary key, because we had not null earlier, we put the primary key definition at the bottom, but if we did not have that, we could have used the primary key in the same line itself. So, so this covers an example of primary key involving multiple or a composite key involving two attributes. So, you just separate them by comma and use within brackets your set of attributes. And another difference example what you have here is use of the foreign key with a action of what to do if a deletion happens. So, in the foreign key mentioned, if you delete a record from the parent table, then what action to be taken with respect to the this dependent table you have to define in order to manage your consistency. So, in this particular case we have defined as cascade, which means if you delete an employee, then you do not want to retain the corresponding dependence. So, dependent of an employee you will need only if the employee still works in the organization, because dependents are useful generally for insurance purposes and so forth. So, if the employee leaves, you do not want the dependents benefiting from these benefits. So, those data must be deleted automatically. So, cascade is definitely applicable for this type of a situation, but if something other situation like employee department being deleted, then we may not want to cascade, you may want to set null or do some other task or restrict. Now, the constraints, as we used in the two previous examples, are used as just the constraint name like primary key or foreign key, then the attributes and then references if it is a foreign key and the attribute. Now, the attribute with respect to the references is referencing table, and reference table the primary key is automatically assumed, but it is optional, you can include the key name as well. So, in this particular case the full definition of a constraint is introduced. Actually, the constraint should be defined with the keyword constraint. Now, if you do not use the keyword constraint, some databases automatically insert it and use their default name. So, as a result, using constraint and the constraint name is optional, depends on the again the database product, and so our early example we have assumed it was optional, and the proper statement is actually constraint, name of the constraint. You can use any name, but it has to be unique name if you have several constraints. So, in this case dependent pk I have used to identify dependence primary key and the keyword primary key and the attributes. Then for foreign key, again the constraint, name of the constraint, the type of the constraint is foreign key, then the attributes associated is employee number, then references is the keyword and the referencing table employee, and optionally the primary key or the reference key of that table is what is given there. So, you may use those syntax as well, and some systems may force you to use with the term constraint to use it if, in their systems. So, the keyword constraint can be used not only for primary key and foreign key, it can be used for other purposes like not null or unique and so forth. So, the general syntax style with the use of such attributes is what is introduced here. So, you have a constraint, name of the constraint, then optionally you use one of them at a time, primary key or unique or not null or references with a referencing table and their attributes. So, that is what is given in this table. Then briefly I will mention about the creating indexes. With respect to the create table is the main part which we have now gone through it in detail, and indexing is just as I mentioned a part that will more or less happen automatically when creating tables. Normally when you create a primary key must have an index associated with it to effectively enforce the primary key feature. So, at the as a background activity, creating index of primary keys automatically happen, and so in such cases you do not need to create again indexes, but for non primary key fields to quickly access data you may need to create indexes, and for that this create index feature is there, and to remove an index later on drop index facility. So, when creating an index you can create a unique index, like primary key is a unique index, and for other keys it may be unique or not depending on the type of data, and national ID may be a unique feature, but name or address or something it is not a unique field. So, for address you may not need to index. The purpose of indexing is to quickly locate some data items based on values. So, for that purpose you use only certain type of fields like employee number, national ID number, and sometimes the name. So, so the general syntax of that is what is given, and few examples of using the index like create index, unique index for department name. So, name of the index file and applied on which table and for which column is what is defined. So, the create index or create unique index depending on unique characteristic index or not, and then the name of the index constraint, and then it is applied to which table, which column. So, it is defined using on and the table name and the column. So, it can be single or multiple columns depending on how you want to use it, and you can easily drop it using just drop and the name of the index. So, to drop tables or views also you just use the table name or the view name, and drop is a dangerous command with respect to it erases and you can't get it back again. So, when you are removing you need to make sure that you do not need it anymore, otherwise especially for table when it drops it will drop with whatever data you have already entered. So, physical data attached to the create table, and if you drop table your physical data is also removed, whereas for indexes and views there is no physical data as such. Indexes can be easily recreated using the table structures. So, therefore, dropping index or a view it does not make any problem if you do it accidentally, but if you accidentally drop a table you will lose your data as well. So, finally, we will briefly look at the alter command which was also mentioned under the data definition language statement. So, the purpose is to change the structure of a file, and it is basically applicable for altering table structures. So, general requirement is later on you may want to add another column to a table or change the length of a data type. Now, we may say address is character of 50, but later on you find there is a person's address which is 75 characters. Then to accommodate that you have to alter the structure, otherwise you can enter only the first 50 characters. So, to modify that you have to use this command. Obviously, if you have a graphical interface you can bypass this, but using SQL this is how you do that is you use alter table command, use the table name like employee and then say add this column, or if you do not want a column you say drop or delete this column. If you want to change the name, rename a column name, you can say rename this name to this, or if you want to modify the data type you may say modify from this type to this. So, when you are doing these type of things you have to do it very carefully, because you are playing with actual data. So, if you do some mistake you may lose your data as well. So, certain type of changes is not possible to do. For example, if you try to change name data type to integers, characters can't be converted to numbers. So, so automatically it will convert and say there are no numbers at the end. So, you will lose the data. So, you should do only possible type of conversions and always try to do only one change at a time, because multiple changes are practically becomes too complex, and there is a risk of sometimes the system doing part halfway and then falling into trouble or crashing or whatever, and you may have a issue. So, always better to do one at a time. So, that is why these options are given, either add or delete or rename or modify. Sometimes you want to change the key, change the primary key or define a new constraint and so forth. So, all type of constraints, all type of actions with respect to foreign keys, all these things can be defined. So, you can drop any existing keys and so forth. So, all these are part of the alter command, and so through that we have briefly looked at all the possible data definition statements one would come across in use of SQL. So, at a later stage we will look at the data manipulation aspect of SQL. Just a couple of examples with respect to altering tables. Just to add a table, add a column, say project manager to the table project, you may use alter table project and add project manager. So, the column definition which is project manager char file is defined, and already table project must be there with other columns, you are only adding another column. And next example, you want to change the primary key, you are deleting the previous primary key using drop primary key and then defining the new key. Also in this case I have also defined another key which is a foreign key which was not there in the earlier. Actually we did not go through the department structure, assuming it was not there we may be able to define it. We will next look at how to use the update command using SQL. The update command is used to change the data values of one or more records, which is one or more rows of the table. So, you store your data. Now, with respect to the other commands what we have so far looked at, we saw this the select statement had a select from where sort of structure, and the insert command had insert into and the values, or insert into with respect to a subquery to insert data. So, here it is slightly different the style with respect to the other commands. Here we specify which table to update and the change you have to specify. So, the update is specified using the update table name, and then the values you need to change you specify using the keyword set. So, you need to specify which attribute or column you are changing and what is the new value. So, you have to assign the new value to this column name using a expression style. You can specify that, and when updating you can update in a way that it applies to the entire table or to set of rows of a table, and to do that you may need to use a where clause. So, the general style of the syntax is what is given here: update table name set, the expression which is the column name which is going to be changed, that whatever value already there using the expression or value of the expression, and then the where condition, where clause, which is to limit the data. So, for example, if we specify update student class, which is a particular table called student class, and we want to change, we will say the course fee, and we want, if you want to change it for a particular student, then we had to have a where clause where you specify the fee is, the change is only applicable for that particular student. So, in general it will be like the amount you pay as the fee, if you pay partially or full or whatever, based on that you make that update. So, here we are changing the fees value to 1200. So, the 1200 would be the new value, the old value is what can be anything, you are, it is immaterial here, and you do not know what was the old value, it is the new value what you specify, and the condition where we want to filter that, apply that only for that student, we had this where clause. In case we do not use the where clause, what will happen is this change of value to 1200 would happen to all students. So, the second example, it applies for all rows, it will update the fee to 1200. So, at the end the entire column called fees will have 1200, whereas the previous case only that student 1, 2, 3, 4 would have had that change. Now, as in the other cases, you can also use subqueries in update as well. In the where clause, as we saw earlier, we can have the subquery. So, here also we have where clause, which means you have the flexibility to use the subquery feature. So, the subquery you may call using this in keyword we described before, and in this particular case we are updating a table called works on, and we are changing the hours worked to a particular value, in this case 12, and we want to do it for a particular project, and that project is identified using a project number, which is what is checked here, and the project number, as we do not know in this particular case, we are extracting by using the known information, which is the project name. So, the project name is taken as information technology. So, for that project name, what is the project number, we have to find from the project table, and then the whatever the project number you find, you pass it to the where clause using this subquery style, and then for that change will happen. So, all if there are a lot of entries in the works on working for the same project, then all of them will have this same hours worked in the department table as required. At the same time, it will also do the same change in the employee table. So, that at the end both will have SALE instead of SAL. So, likewise changes can be done. So, in this particular example, you can see after running the command, both will have SALE as the code because of this change, whereas the previous one the change did not occur because of the restrict command. So, cascade will do changes in both places. So, likewise you can set null values or default values, and in this particular case what we are specifying is on update set null, which is the action to be taken from this foreign key. So, if there are employees working for SAL at this time, then those employees will be given a null value as indicated in this slide, and the department code would be changed accordingly. So, depending on the requirement, you will select what you want to do. So, if you wanted was to change both, then you have to use cascade. If you want to keep it null and assign later, then you can have set null. So, if you want to set to some other value other than a null, then you can also do that by assigning a default value. So, in this particular case, I have just put a default value as XXX, meaning it may change to that default value. So, likewise we can enforce constraints associated with update, but also the same applies for other changes as well. We looked at few earlier with respect to the insert as well. So, that is how the general use of these constraints also may be associated with respect to the updating. Now, we will look at the delete command. So, as beginning I mentioned, for data manipulation we have select, insert, update, delete, those are the key actions we would do. So, we looked at how to insert data using insert into, how to modify the data using update command, and then how to retrieve using the select command. Now, finally, we look at the delete command, which is to remove data what you have entered before. So, you may enter using insert into, and later if you do not want it anymore, you will remove it using delete. So, when you are deleting, you will say delete from this table, whereas when you want to insert, you say insert into this table. So, the wording is similar to how you would express in English. So, if you want to delete from employee, that means you want to delete employee records. So, if you want to delete all employees, then it is just delete from employee. If you want to delete only a specific employee, then you have to see specify which condition. So, then you have to say how to identify that employee and then specify that using the where clause. So, in this particular example, we delete from employee where emp number equals E1. So, giving the employee code, we are referring to delete, which means that row will be taken out from the employee table. In case you do not include the where clause, then at the end what you will have is all the employee data will get deleted. So, when you are using a delete SQL statement, you need to use it carefully, because by mistake if you do not include the where clause, at the end you will not have any data. Now, the delete command removes only the data, the structure of the tables will still remain, which means later you can again insert into and add data. Now, when you create tables, we looked at create table command, which creates the original structure. In that we mentioned also you can use a drop table to remove the table structure. When you remove the table structure using drop, then it also do a deletion of data plus the structure. Then you can't add any more data until you recreate the table structure, whereas here structure will remain, only the data is removed, and you have the flexibility to add data later on. Another example using a subquery, in this case with respect to the delete command, because the where clause can have any expression. So, any subquery can be attached to any SQL statement which has a where clause. So, this update, delete, everything have this subqueries as a result. So, in this case using an employee name, we are identifying what is the employee number using a subquery, passing that number we delete some record, in this case a record from the dependent table. So, like in the previous case where we looked in detail for various forms of restriction, cascade operations and so forth for updating, the same can be enforced for delete as well. So, if you do not want to delete a record if there are matching symbol, we may want to prevent that happening, and the matching values are you take care of that by doing whatever appropriate change. So, in this particular case we are specifying if there are matching employees for the sales department, then do not allow to delete, or you may say if you delete the sales department, you delete also the all employees of the sales department as well. So, in this case we are restricting. So, as a result, if you try to delete the sales department, it will not allow, because there are 2 employees already attached to that department. But whereas if you say cascade, what will happen is those 2 employees plus the department record, both all 3 will get deleted. So, in this particular case the sales department record from the department will get removed, plus the 2 employee records belong to the same department will also get removed if you had the cascade. So, depending on the requirements you have to select which option to use. Similarly, to the earlier case, you can also without deleting you can assign a your own value, because after deleting you do not want the SAL to be there in the system, because there is no such department. So, you have to assign it either a null value or a default value. So, in this particular case we are showing how to assign a null value, and which will delete the department sales record and assign null values. And similarly, you can also attach a default value, and this delete statement is the same, only the constraint is what is going to change, and as a result based on that those values will be inserted.